Hello everyone, welcome to Sunday Talk with my boyfriend. So if you are subscribed to my channel already, you might know me. I am proud. I am Thai and I live in Bangkok. And this is the first episode that my boyfriend and I gonna talk together about stuff.
Hello,
You speak just a little. Can you introduce us more? Who are you?
I'm from the US and I moved to Bangkok about 2 years ago.
And yes, he moved from the US to live in Bangkok with me. Just kidding. We met after that. For the first episode for today, we're gonna talk about the cost of living in Bangkok versus in the US. You have lived in the US for like 26 years already. After that, you moved to live in Bangkok.
Yes.
So what's the difference between, let's say, the cost of livings of the rent?
So I'd say generally like the rent in Thailand is much cheaper than the US, but what you will pay for rent in Thailand depends a lot on where you want to live and the lifestyle that you want to live. So if you want like a very upscale condo, you could actually pay the same as you would in the US for certain places, but on average it's probably going to be between 30 to 50% of what you would normally pay in the US for a condo here. Also, places here, it's kind of hard to see this on video if you've never been here, but a lot of the condos here are fairly small, which is less common in the US. So, although a lot of them are cheaper, sometimes they're kind of small, but still, you can still find like a good, condo for a much cheaper price.
You think ours is good, and how much that we pay for a rent here monthly?
Condo is 35,000 baht, which is about between 1,000 and $1,100, depending on the conversion rate. About 55 square meters, which if you were to get like a condo like this in the U.S., you also have to think about like what city would be comparable to Bangkok. And I would say like a fairly comparable city would be like Miami or New York. And for this type of location and this type of room, you'd probably be paying in New York or Miami probably $3,000 to $5,000 a month. So it's about 30 to 20% of the cost that you would normally pay.
Can you share with us how much you spend on food in the US and also in Bangkok? Both of us actually don't cook, so what we normally do is ordering it from Grab or going outside to eat. It's not very expensive, but of course it's gonna cost us more than cooking it ourselves, right?
So this is one of the, I would call it the hidden costs of Bangkok, because the food delivery system here is very cheap, especially in comparison to what it would cost in the U.S. to do food delivery. Food delivery in the U.S., in my opinion, is like it's extremely expensive compared to here. So most people in the U.S., I think, usually, I mean, unless you're very wealthy, you don't use the food delivery service very often, maybe occasionally. But I find that here, I use Grab like every day, whereas when I lived in the U.S., I would just cook at home because that's really like more economical to cook in the U.S. at home. But here, because I order Grab like twice a day, I actually probably spend more on food here than I did in the U.S. Now, obviously if I ordered Grab or Uber Eats in the U.S., I would be spending a lot more than I do here. That is something to keep in mind when you move here. I would probably recommend just not ever ordering Grab, because once you do it once, then you realize how convenient it is, and then you get used to it. Yeah, exactly.
You call yourself a simple eater?
Yes.
Ordering things from Grab for him would not be hard at all. What about transportation? I have heard from my boyfriend is that everything is kind of far away. Even Starbucks, you need to drive for 2 hours to get it, right? But here, you just get downstairs, go and get Starbucks, Amazon, or any coffee brand that you like. I think coffee might cost a lot of people here a lot a day. So how do you think about that? How do you get coffee in the US? Because you work from home, right? And here you work from home as well, but you kind of order and you go out to get coffee. What about coffee cost?
Yeah, so again, this is something that it depends on where you go. like you can go to what's called the Tao Bin, which is like a vending machine here, and you can get a iced coffee or a hot coffee made fresh from the machine for like $1. Or you could go to Starbucks and spend like almost $7 for a matcha, which I've actually found that some of the Starbucks here are more expensive than they are in America, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if it has to do with the import costs or something like that, but yeah, on average it's cheaper here. Like you can go to some good coffee places here and get a great coffee for like $2.50 or $2. But like the Grab situation is like now that it's half the price, you might be thinking, okay, I'll just get two coffees now, and you end up spending the same amount as you normally would. So coffee is usually cheaper, but if you have to be like sort of disciplined with how you spend money, otherwise it's not going to be that much cheaper.
I get coffee every day too. So I think this might be an interesting question for a lot of people listening to this episode right now as well. What about transportation? Because, the condo that we are living at right now, next to the BTS station. We're not going to tell you which one, but yeah, we are right next to it. So, what do you think about this? Because you have your own car, and are you considering to get your own car here as well too?
Yeah. I have a car in the U.S. that I'm currently trying to sell because obviously I don't use it. But one thing that I like here is living next to the BTS, because if you live next to the BTS, you can pretty much go anywhere next to the BTS line in a very quick amount of time, which is much easier than taking a car somewhere. This is one thing that if you've never been to Bangkok, you should know that the traffic is usually pretty crazy, especially in the middle of the day and in the evenings. So definitely if you move here, I would recommend, especially your first place, try to get a place next to the BTS, because anytime you want to go anywhere, there's either going to be traffic or there's going to be extreme heat that sort of doesn't prevent you, but it makes everything harder to do. So definitely recommend living next to the BTS. And also, I am considering getting a car because, not necessarily because the cost, which it probably would be a little bit cheaper to get a car to replace any time we get a Bolt or a Grab taxi to go somewhere, but also the convenience of owning a car I think would be good, because one of the issues that you will realize when you use Grab or Bolt a lot is that it can be kind of inconvenient when you want to go somewhere and maybe it's busy and you will have to pay more. But the real annoying part is like sometimes it could take 10 minutes for someone to come pick you up, whereas if you had your own car, you could just leave right away. And then secondly, there is also like a language barrier. So if you're trying to communicate with the driver to come and pick you up at a certain spot, sometimes they have a hard time picking you up, maybe because like the map is wrong, or things like that make it difficult to do a simple thing. So that's definitely something that I would like to improve upon, is getting a vehicle of my own.
From what he has shared, you might know already about the pros and also the cons living in the US and also in Bangkok. So what would you say, who's the winner here?
Oh, definitely, I would say someone moving here. It's definitely a lot better. I know I talk a lot about the things that aren't, maybe other people don't tell you, the cons. But overall, it's definitely, everything is much more manageable here in terms of costs than it is in like a Western country like America, in my opinion.
So Bangkok wins. And Bangkok has me. So the last question. So we know everything already about in the US and also living in Bangkok. Would you recommend American people to live here or not if they are listening to this right now?
It's a good question. I would, but there's a few like conditions. First condition is you should have some sort of plan for how you're going to pay for your expenses here, because you will find that if you want to come here and work, it's not quite as affordable as it seems, because you won't be earning the same amount of money that you would be earning in America. So ideally, you have some sort of online source of income, whether that's freelancing, or maybe even you have a full-time job or something like that, which if you do, you need to also understand that there's a 12-hour 13 hour time difference between here in the United States. So you be prepared to work late hours, or have basically anything that you do. You need to have a plan when you come here. So yeah. And another thing is, like, when you look online, everything looks cheap. I think it's easy to underestimate your expenses when you come here, because yes, everything is much cheaper, but at the same time, there's also a lot more things to do and more opportunities to spend money. So I would probably estimate whatever you spend, and then probably add about 50% to that, because you're probably going to be more active and doing more things than you would be doing in the U.S. So that's something also to keep in mind. Maybe you have enough money where you can come here and live for several years and figure out what you're going to do, and that's actually also not such a bad thing.
I think that was the most useful answer ever. Yeah, because I think a lot of people might it's considering to move here either for travel or to live here. So I hope this video might be useful for you to listen and consider and decide after this.
Another thing that I actually forgot to mention was the visas. That's a very important part. Actually, Thailand recently, they're lowering the visa-free period from 60 days down to 30 days. So if you subscribe to this channel, in a future video, we'll discuss visas here in Thailand. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely subscribe, and there'll be another video coming soon.
That is our episode for today. If you want to know about anything, drop them in the comments. We read everything. See you in the next episode. Bye.